You know what I hate? Vampire movies. Vampire movies have been done to fucking death, man. Every time I see a new vampire movie or TV show, I know there's some hack writer sitting in a room all by himself, completely out of fucking ideas, so he decides to rehash the same old shit that's been done a million times before. Think of something new, you unoriginal motherfuckers. You know, that's exactly how I feel about 9/11. I don't think a single day has passed in the last 10 years that somebody has not reminded me of 9/11. It's always the same bullshit over and over and over again. The news media is always rehashing the same old shit over and over again, making sure there's not a single moment in our lives that we can forget about this tragedy. As though this is the worst tragedy that ever happened in human history. But guess what, folks? I know this might be an unpopular opinion, but 9/11 is not the greatest tragedy to happen in world history. Far fucking from it. 3,000 people died on 9/11 and some buildings got destroyed, which is a damn shame. But you want to know what else is a damn shame? 600,000 people died last year alone from heart disease. 500,000 people died last year of cancer, man. Every single day, every fucking single day. 16,000 kids in this world die of starvation. But hey, you know, most of them are African and they're black, so I guess their deaths aren't nearly as important as those that died on 9/11, are they? Now don't get me wrong, I feel sorry for every single person that lost a loved one on 9/11. But you want to know who else I feel sorry for? Everybody who has ever lost a loved one ever due to anything. Is there something special about these 3,000 people that make their deaths more important than the 56 million people that die every single year? The answer is fuck no, man. The pain and suffering of every single person that has to go through the loss of a loved one is equally sad. That's the truth, man. And if that's the truth, ask yourself, why are the deaths of these 3,000 people shoved down our throat every single day? Well, the answer is very simple. It's because 9/11 was exciting as shit, man. The news media is all about sensationalism, and 9/11 is the gift that keeps on giving. Whenever there's a lull in broadcasting, they don't have to go out and research a new story. They don't have to go investigate. They don't have to film new footage. All they have to do is break out the tried and true 9/11 footage. All they do is rehash the same old shit over and over and over again. 9/11 is like a vampire movie of world tragedies. And speaking of blood-sucking vampires, the politicians are leeches. They'll attach to any story and suck that story dry until there's nothing but a dead husk left on the ground. They're psychopaths who would do anything to grab power and hold on to it for as long as they possibly can. Do any of you people out there really think any of these politicians give a shit about the 3,000 people that died on 9/11? If you do, you're so fucking stupid you should be mentally aborted. The politicians simply do not give a shit, and neither do the news media. You really think Bill O'Reilly sits awake at night crying about the people that died on 9/11? Fuck no. All he cares about is the millions of dollars he's making every year by spreading this fear. The deaths of every single person that died in those towers has been desecrated and used in the world's greatest con job. $1.2 trillion has been spent on the war on terror since 9/11. $1.2 trillion. That's so much money the human mind cannot even contemplate it correctly. That's enough money to easily cure world hunger. We could save every one of those 16,000 starving children that die every single day. That's enough money to give every American citizen health care for at least the next 10 years. We could save an uncountable number of lives. But instead of saving lives with this money, we fucking didn't. We got conned out of it. The American news media is the greatest friend the terrorists ever had. They rely on the news media to spread their fear for them. I mean, who amongst us would be even a little bit afraid of the terrorist if not for the media shoving this shit down our throats day in and day out? The answer is none of us. We wouldn't even fucking know about it. Terrorists depend on our media to scare us. Did you know that Osama bin Laden admitted that he attacked our country in order to pull us into endless wars and to bankrupt us? Did you know that? Why the fuck are our politicians doing exactly what Osama bin Laden wants? It's insanity. Our American news media are willing accomplices to these terrorists. They're willing to be Al-Qaeda's bitch anytime, day or night, in order to make a buck for themselves. It's incredibly shameful, and it's time for somebody to stand up to and tell them we know what the fuck they're doing. We no longer buy it. We no longer live our lives in fear, because we are smart enough to know that this fear you're spreading is based on nothing. Did you know that you're more likely to be killed by a peanut than you are to be killed by a terrorist? True story, man. Go look it up. You're more likely to be killed by a cow than you are to be killed by a terrorist. You're 8 times more likely to be killed by an American cop than you are to be killed by a terrorist. That's why when I get on an airplane, I would much rather sit next to a Middle Eastern guy in full Muslim garb than I would be sitting next to a cop. The truth is that statistically, you have almost no chance of being killed by a terrorist. Almost none. So why do we allow them to shove this fear down our throat day in and day out? Aren't you guys sick of being conned by the military-industrial complex? Aren't you guys sick of being their bitch and allowing them to take your hard-earned tax dollars to make weapons of mass destruction? Aren't you tired of them murdering strangers in your name over this bullshit? I'm fucking sick of it. It's time for somebody to stand up and say enough is a goddamn enough. Who the fuck is with me? While we fire our teachers, while we dismantle our very basic social safety nets, we allow the military-industrial complex to make us so afraid we hand over trillions of dollars to them in order for them to go fight these boogeymen. For every single $1.5 million Tomahawk missile that is fired, instead of using that money on the poor to help starving children, to help our homeless, to help the neediest and poorest among us, that's just further proof of what a sad, sick, ghoulish society our military-industrial complex has turned us into. Don't get mad at me, man. I'm just trying to keep this shit in perspective. I, for one, am tired of the con job they're using this tragedy to fuel. I'm tired of them pretending like these 3,000 deaths are the most important deaths in history. You wanna know what happened when my dad died? I cried for a little bit, I mourned his death, and then I fucking got over it. I didn't dwell on it for the rest of my life. That's what everybody who loses a loved one has to do. They have to fucking move on. It happens 56 million times every year. So look, I don't give a shit how unpopular this is. I'm gonna say it. Fuck 9/11. It happened, it sucks, get over it already, move on with your lives. Fuck everybody in the news media and every politician who continues to exploit this shit. Fuck the new World Trade Center buildings. Fuck the cross they're erecting in front of it. Fuck the military-industrial complex. And most importantly, if you don't like me expressing my free speech and saying this, fuck you. Logic.